Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Paul Stastny and him signing with the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, Paul Stastny, of course, had this past season, mostly with the St. Louis Blues. He ends up getting traded at the trade deadline to the Winnipeg Jets, where he ends up going to the Western Conference Final versus the Vegas Golden Knights, the team he ends up signing with. I think one of the biggest storylines just to come out of this trade is because him going to the Vegas Golden Knights, him going to the team that beat him in the Western Conference Final and beat the Jets in the Western Conference Final. Now, it kind of baffles me that he went to anybody other than the Jets at this point. I thought he was going completely to the Jets. Before, my main reason was because they didn't have enough cap space, but they cleared out the cap space with the Mason and Armia deal to Montreal, so I thought they already had that covered, but it seems like they didn't have enough for it. It seems like Vegas swooped in and was able to get Paul Stastny and acquire him through free agency. It seemed like Winnipeg was having the best advantage to Paul Stastny from having that cap space, and it seemed like Paul Stastny wanted to go back to Winnipeg too. And gets him at 3 years, gets him until he's 35 years of age, and then has him at 6.5 per year, which is a lot. It's a lot of money to be investing in a guy who is one of the better free agents of the class, don't get me wrong, but of course is not too consistent. Last year in 82 games, he had 16 goals, 37 assists for 53 points. The postseason he had 17 games played with 15 points. So in the postseason, he was really great with the Winnipeg Jets, and he was fantastic. One of the best guys from that team, in my opinion. He really showed up in the playoffs, and that's when I was really impressed with him. And of course, only in 17 games to get 15 points, just a miraculous run for him, and he was doing fantastic with the guys that he played with. And when with Vegas, it might not be the same offensive guys that he played with, so he'll be a little bit more of a lesser guy, at least points-wise, but he'll still play pretty well. In Vegas, they're still a fantastic team, so he'll play pretty decent around him. It's going to be interesting to see where he plays, where he ends up fitting in the lineup, but Vegas definitely needed a second-line center from this free agency. They're kind of thin on centers. As we look to their depth charts, they're not great. They have Carlson and they have Eakin, pretty much the only confirmed centers from their organization right now, and adding Paul Stastny definitely helps their core, and a core that, wasn't all too great. One of Vegas' big strengths was the wing, and their center core was a little bit lacking. Besides having William Karlsson, their center core wasn't that great offensively, and adding Paul Stastny is a guy that'll definitely help that. And what did we see for Vegas in the Stanley Cup Final? Their main issue was scoring goals and being consistent with that. They just were bad in that department and were not able to get goals past Holtby and the Washington Capitals. And with Paul Stastny, he'll definitely be able to do that. He'll have the offensive capability with having that defensive side. He's a great two-way guy, and as a second-line center, he's fantastic. I really wanted him on my Dallas Stars, but in Vegas, he's a great fit. I think he'll play pretty well throughout his 3 years there. But of course, as we look at the contract, it's not that great. $6.5 million is not the best. And for Stastny, I think it's a little bit of an overpayment. I would have had him at 5.5 around there, but 6.5 is a steep for me. Vegas has a ton of cap space, and they have tons of cap space to work with, but having a lot of that strapped up into Paul Stastny, where I could have sent it a lot lower, is the issue. We might not have gotten him at 5.5 or $6 million. He might have gone to Winnipeg at that point, but still, 6.5, it's a little bit steep for me. It's going to have to see how it works out, but 6.5, it's just a little bit of an overpayment. I would have had him at $6 million. Yes, I know I'm stressing over $500,000, but that's a lot of money in the real world, in the sports world, in the hockey world, it's not that much, but I feel like it was a little bit of overpayment that Vegas could have done without. And I think what Vegas needed was to have this a little bit lower. They still got to sign guys like William Karlsson, and I feel like having $6.5 million in Paul Stastny may not be the best idea right now. He might have gotten signed by Winnipeg, but with Vegas, it's a concerning deal that, they're going to have cap space, that's for sure. It's not their biggest problem, but for Paul Stastny, I feel like it was a little bit of overpayments. He's bringing a lot to the game, he's bringing a lot to the team, but still, 6.5 is just a little bit too much for me. Paul Stastny is a great player, and I do like the guy, do like his game, but he's just a little bit more overpayment, which in free agency is going to happen, but I just don't have the best feeling about this. It seems like a contract that is going towards the end of his career, so it's going to be interesting to see how he plays in that second to third year. Pretty sure he'll play good in his first year with Vegas, but it's all about what he does with the latter stages of it. And this is also a big blow to Winnipeg. Winnipeg, one of their best players throughout the playoffs was Paul Stastny, and one of his most consistent players in the playoffs was Paul Stastny. So for Winnipeg, they're going to have to replace this somehow, in some way. I feel like with Winnipeg, they have a fantastic team. It might just be a dent in their team, but I feel like it'll be a dent that'll be worth noticing. With Paul Stastny, bring a lot to the Winnipeg Jets, and losing him, especially after making an effort to get cap space to get him back, is going to be interesting to see how they can adapt from that, and how they'll be able to play next season and the playoffs without the guy like him. Vegas paying good money for Paul Stastny, whether it's worth it or not, we'll have to wait and see. But getting him is a good idea. I feel like they had some center holes that they definitely needed to fill, and Paul Stastny definitely fills that with Vegas. He definitely was a good option for them. $6.5 million is steep, but it's what you have to pay in free agency to get guys like this. So Paul Stastny, he's going to play good in Vegas, going to be solid, and I think the deal will work out in the long run. Of course, Vegas being my third favorite team, I'm really hoping that this works out. With Paul Stastny, I feel like he'll be a good fit with Vegas, Vegas being a good fit for him, and I feel like it'll be a little bit of a dent in Winnipeg's hole here, and I feel like with Vegas, it's a good fit, and with Paul Stastny, I think he'll play pretty well in his time with Vegas. Of course, it's not too long, which is the big thing, but $6.5 million, it is a little bit worrying, so we'll have to wait and see what happens, but I think overall, Paul Stastny is a good fit with Vegas Golden Knights. But that's going for today, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Tell me below what you think of this signing. What do you think of Paul Stastny going into the Vegas Golden Knights for 3 years? And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.